Everyone, I hope you're having an amazing day. So today I'm going to talk about for loops. If you haven't watched my previous episode about while loops and do while, I would highly encourage you to check that out, right? Okay, so the first thing first, right, you need to log into an org. If you haven't registered for one, I would highly encourage you to do so. So I've logged into my org, and I'm going to go to developer console to do the for loops, okay? So, right, now for loops are two types. I'll explain to you what I mean by that. So you have, let me clear all this stuff, okay? So you have the two kinds of for loops, like as I said. So the first one, you have a normal for loop where you have initialize a variable, then you put a condition, and then you increment it, right? So something like that. And then you have another for loop where you loop through a collection, right, which is most commonly used. If you wanted to loop through a SOCL object, list of SOCL objects, or list of a map, or list of array, or whatever, right, then you normally use the for loops, which I'm going to describe later. In certain programming language, it's also called for each. Right, and for instance, in C# they have something called for each, where you loop through collections or enumeration. So, if you're confused what I mean by enumeration, don't worry about it. So, enumeration, sorry, that's what they in C#. So let's stick to Apex, all right? So in simple terms, if you wanted to loop through collections, right, like list, sets, maps, then you use a for each or other kinds of for loop, which I'm going to demonstrate. Okay, so let's demonstrate how to create a very basic for loop. Okay, as usual, let me print from 0 to 10, right, or whatever. So the way to do that, you're not going to declare any separate variable outside the for loop. I mean, you can do it, but I just wanted to make it simple. Like for instance, for I'm going to do integer, okay? This is how the syntax works, okay? And I'm going to assign it, right? And then I'm going to say I less than equals to, say, 9. And I'll explain to you what I'm doing, okay, in a second. So it'll become easier for you. Okay, so the syntax of the for loop is a little bit different than while loop. In while loop, you might have seen, if you recall what I've taught last time, that I have to put I++ inside the statement, right, after the system debug or before that, right, because it has to increment the value of I so that the loop can proceed to the next stage of execution. In terms of for loop, you put everything here, right? So this is pretty much similar, right? If you remember, you're assigning a data type, right, of integer I, and then you're declaring a data type of I as which is of integer data type, and then you assign value of 0 to it, and then you're putting a condition there, right? Loop this for loop statement. Run this for loop statement till the value of I is greater than 9, okay? And then we are incrementing I++ here, okay? This is exactly what we're doing. So here, when the code runs, right, so it will start with I equals to 0, right? And then it will come here, right? And then it will print the value of 0 here. Then it will increment the value after it prints, right, to 1, 0 plus 1, that is 1, right? And then it goes back again to the loop, right? And then it checks whether 1 is less than 9, which is correct, right? Then it prints the value of I, and then it increments the value of I here, and then it goes to the loop, right? Once it reaches to a condition, right, where it says the value of I equals to 10, it will exit the loop. That's pretty much similar to like the while loop, which you remember, okay? Now, let me run this, okay? I mean, I don't have to use this kind of for loop much. I mean, I've been doing a lot of Apex coding, right? So I don't have to use this kind of for loop very often, very rare, right? I mean, I could get by using while loop or if I use for loop, I've used a lot of for loop, but not this one. But it's often to iterate a collection, right? Which I'm going to talk about in a second, which is the most important part of a for loop, which you'll be using it. Okay. So let me see the result here. Okay, you can see that 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 8, right? Which is correct because it's greater than, if it has to run till the value of 8, because if it's 9 less than 9, which is not correct, right? So it exits the loop. If you wanted to print the 9, you just have to put equals to 9, so it will print till 9, right? Let's run it. Okay, that's pretty straightforward, right? So as I explained, right, it's pretty straightforward. So you define an integer here of, the variable I of data type integer, then you assigned initial value, which is like initializing the value of I to 0, and then you're checking this condition here, and then you're incrementing the value of I. That's pretty much to do with the for loop. It's pretty straightforward, right? Nothing fancy about it. It's not a rocket science, okay? Now, let's talk about a different scenario, okay? So let's say I have a list of string, yeah? So I'll just put it as str list, okay? And new list. I hope you remember the collection data type. If you haven't, I would highly encourage you to please check out my collection data type. I'll put the link in the I button below. You can click on the I button at the top, so you will get the stuff. Right? Okay, so A, B, right, now I wanted to display the value of string list, this collection. I wanted to display each member of this collection, right? How to do that? It's pretty straightforward. You can use this as well, okay? But we normally don't use very often, but I'll show you how to do this using this. You can do str list dot size, yeah? And then you can just say str list. You can pretty much do the collection here, right? I'll just show you here. There is the hang on a second. Where is it? Unexpected token. Ah, sorry. Here. Right. Okay. And right, so it can print ABC, right? Which is pretty straightforward. But this is not how we really write the code, right? Because it's okay. I mean, you can do this, but if you think about a scenario where you have to deal with complex maps, I mean, this for loop won't really, it's not an efficient way to write code, right? So the best way and more cleaner way, you can do something like that, okay? I'll show you how to do that. So you're gonna do for, okay? And since, just got this S, okay? Okay, let me comment other part of the code. Okay, let me run it, and then I will explain to you, okay? See the same output? Now, look at the code here, right? Look at this part of the code, and look at this code. So, which one do you think is more cleaner and easy to understand? Obviously this one, right? The down one. So that's why this is something called for each kind of loop, where you loop through a collection, right? It's pretty straightforward. You don't have to declare any integer value, or you don't have to increment pretty much anything, because this kind of for loop will pretty much take care of the collection. So all I've done, right? So I've grabbed this variable string list, right, which is a collection, okay, which contains this ABC, right? So the syntax is pretty. So I declare this string S, right, because obviously the string list, right, it's a list of a type string, okay. So that's why I have to declare string here, right? And then this S, right, it refers to individual values in the list A, B, C. That's what I printed here. I'll give you another example just to make it more clear, okay? So let's say I wanted to have a list of, or let's say I wanted to have a set, okay? Set of integer, right? And then I say int list, new set. So integer, okay? So I was gonna put 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Now, if you go by above syntax, right? Pause the video for a second and think about it, how you're going to write the for loop in this scenario, right? It's pretty straightforward. I explained to you here, right, for the list. So you start with a variable, so you start with string here because the list which you're going to iterate, right, is of type string, right? So that's why you put string. If it's a type integer, you put integer here, right? So you got to use a similar concept here, right? It works the same for set, map, and list. Map is a little bit different, but we're gonna deal with map later in advanced topic when we get into more complex maps, right? For now, the way to write it here, okay? So you're gonna do for, okay? Now, as I said, this int list, right? You have to look at the type of this data of this collection. So it is a set of data type integer, right? So you're gonna do integer, okay, I, right, and int list, okay, right, and you're gonna do system.debug, I, right. Let me comment this code as well. Okay, now let me run this. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, pretty straightforward, right? Because it's printed 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say if I put string here, right? Do you think this code will run or what will happen? Okay, let's find out. You can't, right? Because the int list, right, is a set, right, of integers, okay, and you're trying to loop through a collection of integer using a string variable, which doesn't make sense, right? Because there is a cast issue right here, because you have to typecast it, okay, to integer if you wanted to do that, okay. So that's why we can't use string here. You have to use integer here. So that's the analogy behind it. Right, so this is how you use the for loop. As you can see, it's pretty neater. It's very easy to read the code, right? Compared to integer I equals to 0, you know, semicolon I less than, right? Because I don't like to see the code written in this way for loops. It's not a good, sorry, for collection. It's not a good practice, right? Because, I mean, it's okay. I mean, if you wanted to write, but it's difficult to read, and you know, if you get into the complex collection, right, with maps into maps, then the code will look a bit messy, right? So it's always better to write a code which is easy to read, so that any other developer who looks at a code, you know, don't have to spend hours trying to figure out what you're trying to do, because anyone can write a complex code. That's not the point. Point is to keep it simple, right? So that your code should be like your storybook, right? When someone looks at your code, should be able to understand, should be able to read. Any idiot can make the code extremely complicated. That's not the point, right? Because I've seen sometimes developers overcomplicating this stuff. It just doesn't make any sense, right? Why do you overcomplicate it? If you write a complicated code, it's very difficult to enhance it if you have to do it for whatever scenario. It's sometimes very complex. It's very time consuming to debug it, right? and it's time consuming for another developer to figure out what the heck you're trying to do here in the first place, right? So that's exactly my point is, I prefer to write a very simple code, a bug-free code, right? Not a overcomplicated piece of a code, which is very difficult to troubleshoot, and it might look fancy, it might look, what's the other word? I forgot the right word for it, but it might look, picture perfect. I don't think so anybody uses word in programming, but the jargon of code, different design patterns, that's fine. But the point is to keep it simple. Point is to easy to maintain the code, right? Point is the other person can look at the code and can understand what he's trying to do, right? And point is to write a code which is bug-free, right? If you're more complex, you write the code, more complicated stuff you started to introduce for a simple stuff, then you are highly prone to writing a code which can encounter a lot of bugs in the future, right? So that's one of the things I learned over a period of time. Yeah, so that's why I always recommend any new developers to please try to write a simple code, right? Try to understand what he's trying to do, right? Write it down on a piece of paper, then you start to implement, rather than straight away getting into code and start typing, right? That's not how it works. Try to keep the code simple. Try to keep the code neater and cleaner, right? And bug-free, right? That's all you should keep in mind, right? Keep it simple, right? KISS principle works very well, okay? And please don't take me wrong, design principle works very well, right? I'm a big fan of solid principle. You should be writing code according to solid principle. I'll get into that eventually. But the point is, wherever you have to write simple code, you should stick to simple code, right? That's all I'm trying to say. So, yeah, sorry I digress, but I just wanted to, let you know my personal opinion, right? You can disagree. That's all good. No problem with that. Right, so this is exactly what I'm trying to say here, right? So these are the for loops you can do, right? A very simple for loop, very different. There are two for loops, right? Okay, so this one we normally don't use it for collections. This is used for very simple looping process, right? If you wanted to deal with S-objects collections, then please use the for each kind of loop, which is this loop, right? It makes more sense. Right, and there are a lot of things you need to know. Like I've seen a very bad code over the course of time. The first thing is that I've seen a code where, especially in Apex, where people try to insert stuff inside the for loop, which is absolutely a big no in Salesforce, because you all have to understand that Salesforce is a multi-tenant architecture, right? You can't do a bulk insert. Sorry, you can't do an insert in the for loop. You got to bulkify your code, right? I will get into that. I mean, you're a Salesforce admin. You might have heard about bulkification of code. You will know what the concept of multi-tenant, right? Because you are working in a Salesforce environment. So you will know what multi-tenant means, right? The way you write a SQL query. That's why you don't have an option, right? Select star from an object. We don't have that option in SQL, right? You have to specify the field name, whereas in SQL Server or Oracle, you have an option, select star from a table, right? So this is the reason why the Salesforce don't give you that option, because it is a multi-tenant, it's a shared resource, right? So the same way you have to keep into consideration when you write an Apex code, you have to understand the best way to write a code, right? That's why I'm saying keep it simple. Cool. Right, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I hope you got some information from today's lecture, right? I wanted to keep it as simple. So, yeah, next time we're going to talk about maps. I just wanted to show you how maps works and how people make mistakes when they do code bulkification. So, because you should know. So I'm going to talk about it next time, a little bit advanced, but it's good for you guys to know. And then after that, we're going to get into classes, objects, inheritance, polymorphism, a real object-oriented concept, because Apex is an object-oriented programming language, so you should understand what classes are all about, public, private, right? Global. These all things are very important. Okay, that being said, you guys have an amazing Sunday. Take care.